Hello students, welcome to the session. Today we are going to discuss Civics chapter number 5, Fundamental Rights part 2. In the last chapter, we learnt some fundamental rights guaranteed to us by the Indian Constitution. Let's recall it. We studied the rights of liberty, equality, and the right against exploitation. Dear students, in today's presentation, we shall learn about the right to freedom of religion, cultural and educational rights, and we shall get acquainted with the judicial protection available for the fundamental rights. Judicial protection means the legal protection that the citizens can seek to protect their fundamental rights. Let's get started. The first fundamental right that we are going to discuss today is the right to freedom of religion. We all know that India is a land of diversity. People follow different religions, and Indian Constitution does not declare any religion as its official religion. It means India is a secular country. All religions are treated with equal importance by the Indian Constitution. Indian Constitution includes in our right to freedom of religion. According to this right, each Indian citizen is free to practice any religion and to establish institutions for religious reasons. In order to broaden the scope of this right to freedom of religion, two things are not permitted by the Indian Constitution. The first thing is the government, that is the state, cannot impose religious taxes that might be used to encourage a particular religion. That is, our Constitution forbids religious taxes. It is not allowed by the Constitution of India to collect any religious taxes from the citizens, and these orders are for the government, for the state. The second point is religious education cannot be made compulsory in the educational institutions that receive aid from the state. Aid means finance. The educational institutions that receive financial help by the government or by the state, such institutions cannot make religious education compulsory in the institutes. You all must have observed that in our school we celebrate different festivals of different religions. There are official holidays declared by the government so that different religious rituals or festivals should be performed, should be observed by all of us. Therefore, the educational institution cannot make any religious practice as a part of compulsion in their curriculum. They cannot make any religious education compulsory in their curriculum. So, to protect the freedom of religion of the citizens, these two things are prohibited by the Constitution. Let's move ahead and discuss the second right. It is the cultural and educational right. We can see that there is a great diversity of festivals, food, and ways of life in our country. You must have noticed this difference when you attend different wedding ceremonies of the people belonging to different languages or belonging to different religions. But this diversity one can preserve This is the cultural and educational right. All these things are part of the cultures of the different communities. The traditions, the customs, they are part of our culture. And our constitution has given the different communities the right to preserve their cultural uniqueness. We have the right to practice our traditions, to practice our rituals, and according to this right, people are not only free to preserve their own language, their own script and literature, but also make efforts towards their promotion. They can establish institutions for the development of their language. All of us are very well aware that the very original Indian languages are being tried to be preserved by different institutions. Take an example of the language of Sanskrit. Different institutions and organizations, they promote the language through various competitions, through various cultural activities. And it is possible for them to preserve this language doing all those activities because constitutionally they have the right. The citizens have the right to preserve their language, to preserve and promote their culture. And because of this right of cultural and educational right given to us by the constitution, we can preserve the uniqueness of our culture and we can promote our language also. Hope you are getting it. And the third right that we are going to discuss in this chapter is the right to constitutional remedies. In case of encroachment of fundamental rights, Indian citizens' right to get judicial remedies is also a fundamental right. First of all, let us try to understand what does it mean by encroachment of fundamental rights. If a fundamental right of any citizen is taken away by force, by dominance of someone else, it is known as encroachment of the right. And in such a condition, the Indian Constitution gives the right to the citizen to go to court and seek justice. This is known as judicial remedy. And this is called the right to constitutional remedies. This means the Constitution itself has provided for legal remedies in case people's rights get violated. And so it becomes a constitutional duty of the courts to protect the rights of the people. Sometimes the rights that are guaranteed to us by the Constitution itself may get encroached upon and we are not able to exercise our rights. This is called an infringement of our rights. It means sometimes the rights given to us by the Constitution are not followed by the other citizens. These rights are taken away or they are violated by somebody. Then it is called as infringement of our rights. The court then considers our complaint, it investigates it, and in case it is convinced that rights have indeed been infringed upon or they are taken away and injustice has been done to the aggrieved individual, the court gives an appropriate verdict. When the court or if the court finds that the aggrieved individual, it means the individual who goes to the court, who approaches the court seeking for the justice, if the court finds that really injustice has been made to the person, the rights of the persons have been violated, then the court gives appropriate, correct, proper, legal, just, full verdict. I will here give you some instances of infringement of the rights. Arresting an individual without a reason. In this way, the right of an individual to know his or her crime before getting arrested. If the individual is arrested without a reason, this is infringement of his or her right. Preventing a person from leaving a village or a town without giving a valid reason, because Constitution gives us right to migrate or to move from one place to another, maybe for the sake of education, occupation and other such reasons. So if a person is forbidden or prevented to leave his or her village or town without giving any valid reason, we can say that the citizen's right is infringed. Refusing food, water or medicines to jail inmates is also an instance of infringement of rights. In this way, we try to understand what is infringement of rights and what is our right to have constitutional remedies. Besides this, we are supposed to understand some rights of the citizens, that courts have power to issue various kinds. It means for the constitutional remedies, the courts have certain powers to issue various kinds of writs. For what reason? To protect the rights of the citizens. Which are such writs? Let us understand. They are 5 in number. The first one is habeas corpus. It means protection from the unlawful arrest and detention. If a person is getting arrested illegally, then the court has the power to protect the right of the citizen, and so it is investigated initially and the person gets protection from unlawful arrest and detention. The second is mandamus. The order of the courts, maybe the order of the court of the Supreme Court or the High Court. These orders are for the government. The court commands the government to perform an action that is its duty to perform in public interest. This is how the judicial system has hold on the implementation of the executive body. The third is prohibition. It means to prevent a subordinate court from exceeding its jurisdiction. If a subordinate court is taking or giving a verdict which is not in the capacity of the concerned court, then the superior court can prevent the subordinate court from exceeding its jurisdiction. The fourth point is quo warranto. It means to restrain a person from acting in an office to which he is not entitled. Suppose a government officer who has completed the age of retirement and still is in service of the same government department, then the court has the authority to remove such a person from his post. The fifth point is certiorari. It means to order the removal of a law suit from a subordinate court to a superior court. If a subordinate court is dealing with a lawsuit, a legal case, and if it is not handling it correctly or justfully, then the superior court has the order to give it to the subordinate court to remove the lawsuit and to hand it over to the superior court. In this way, we try to understand the fundamental rights given to the Indian citizens by the Constitution. Dear students, because of all these fundamental rights, they are protected by the courts, the citizens are able to exercise their rights. They can fulfill their roles as alert, responsible, and active citizens. But when we consider our fundamental rights to become active citizens, to become responsible citizens, we also need to remember our duties as citizens of India. And in the next chapter, we will learn about the fundamental duties of the Indian citizens. I hope you